Welcome, everyone, to the Print On Demand Playbook podcast. My name is Rusty Pepper.
And I'm Maddie Alcala.
And together we explore the ever-evolving world of print on demand, from the companies and technologies shaping it to the leaders who make it great. And along the way, we share the strategies, the insights, and stories to help you and your businesses grow, innovate, and get ahead. So Maddie, before we get our awesome guest introduced, I've got a two-part question just for you. You ready?
Hit me, Dr. Pepper.
All right. First part of this question is, what's the most creative or memorable business gift you ever received?
You know, even that question makes me realize I should have been receiving more business gifts in my life. I don't have a ton to draw on. But I will say I've gotten a couple of really nice bottles of alcohol over the years, usually around the holidays, from various people. But I think the most creative is I got a full spa bath set once. And it was really surprising because I was not expecting to receive that in a work context. But then I was like, this is actually really nice. This is exactly what I need. Nothing like some bath salts and lotions to get you through a tough period.
I could see that. Was it mainly because the client or the person that sent it to you, you felt like it was a little bit weird, or was just the product itself?
It was probably both, I think. I've gotten swag packs before of journals and apparel and stuff like that, kind of the standard, more promotional items that we all have. Gotten those. I've gotten a couple nice bottles of alcohol. I'd gotten some gift cards before from various people. So this one, it was both. I did not expect to receive a spa, at-home spa gift set in the first place. So that definitely was a bit, it was honestly, I was super happy about it, but it was a surprise. And then I think that with the sender too. Ultimately, though, I reached out and I was like, this is really thoughtful. I just was very surprised by this. What about you, Rusty? What's the most creative you've gotten?
You don't get to ask me on this one. I got a second part. I want to ask you.
All right, I'll come back.
And then I may give you my thoughts. I just don't want to waste too much of our precious time having our poor guests sit there. The other part of this was, what's the worst gift you got? We talked about the best. What's the worst?
I think the super generic, logo pen, very standard promo pack is probably the worst. I've gotten a few of those where it's you can kind of get a small, not so great magnet and a pen that doesn't work and, a journal that's not great quality. I've gotten a few of those before and I don't find those particularly exciting.
Trash.
No, I don't end up in a landfill. I just give it to somebody who looks like they need it more than I do.
I got you. Yeah. There's an opportunity in gifting. There's no doubt. Yeah. And there's a tie-in to having our guest here. We'll get him introduced here in a second, but I'll answer your first question about the best. Because I've had, obviously I get a lot of alcohol. People look at my background, they always send me alcohol. So I've gotten some phenomenal bottles, which we actually just drank one this weekend that was tequila, was just phenomenal. But the best gift I've gotten was actually an experience that had a gifting component to it. Went out to California at Carlsbad to the Callaway Fitting Center, and we had custom golf club fitting. And so we met the golf pros. They went through this whole experience with us, got us fitted for clubs, and then we went and played. When we got back to our hotel, they were actually done. I mean, it was incredibly fast turnaround. We were shocked by it. And we actually got to play 36 holes over the next 2 days with those new clubs. And that was the best.
All right. You take the cake. If anyone's listening to this, I like skiing and horses. So those would be my two preferences. Rusty can take golf. I'll take skiing and horses.
Heated skiing boots. I know she likes heated skiing boots.
I have those, but a new pair of demo skis would be awesome. Well, I think with that, Rusty, before you and I get too far down the rabbit hole, we should introduce our guest. We're going to have an awesome conversation about gifting. So very happy to have Kris Rudeegraap with us today, the founder of Sendoso. Thanks for joining us, Kris.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Well, we'll start with our question back to you. We obviously want to learn about the business and kind of the aha moment behind getting into gifting professionally, but do you have a favorite gift that you've received?
Gosh, I'm lucky to be receiving gifts all the time, but I think one of my favorites was a DJI drone, which was really cool. that was really nice. I also got this beer of the month club that was like the gift that kept giving. It was like for like a year of once a month like beers, which was fun. I got some nice tequila, so that was fun. But yeah, I think all those have been up there for me.
That's awesome.
Anytime you get a package, I don't care what it is, something arrives, there's that little bit of excitement. You're like, "Ooh, what's this going to be?"
Yeah, or what's inside. There's a little curiosity.
Exactly. Well, with that, tell our listeners a bit about Sendoso. What does the business do? How'd you get into it? What was the aha moment behind starting it?
Yeah, so I started Sendoso about 9 years ago. Prior to that, I spent about a decade in software sales myself, and so it was really, a decade ago where I was feeling that email was becoming more of a saturated channel, and it felt like it was gonna be, less results, less open rates, less click rates, and so I started to experiment with other things. Such as gifting, and so I would go out and I think I originally started getting Starbucks gift cards and mailing those in the mail, and then just started sending out swag from our marketing closet or on a call and hear a dog bark and send out like a dog toy, just all those kind of personal gifts. And it all worked really well. It was just insanely manual and time intensive. And so I dreamed of a solution that was integrated into our tech stack, that was global scale, did all the hard work of packing boxes for me. And, fast forward, we've done hundreds of millions of gifts sent. And it's been a really fun journey the last 9 years.
I love how you took something very simple, sending gift cards, which we've all done in sales, right? We all have, not to say everybody, but a lot of us, we've done it. But then you actually said, there's a business here. And you turned it into a massive business, which really is, I believe y'all are one of the very first in this space, which is now a really big channel. There's a lot of players in the gifting space. So, hey, kudos for recognizing the opportunity and seizing on it, because I'm a little bit jealous that I wasn't smart enough to figure that out. I was doing it. I just didn't look at it as from a business standpoint, because you took something high touch, very complex, and you made it into a scalable business. So let's talk a little bit about that, because I believe it's really more of a logistic. If you really think about what y'all do, you're mastering logistics, not necessarily the gift part. It's very complicated to do global fulfillment, distribution. Tell me about that, and how was that learning curve to get up to speed? Because obviously it's taken probably a decade that y'all been in business. But to me, I'm fascinated by that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think if I knew what I knew, I think maybe I wouldn't have gotten into the business. And I mean, now I can say it's been amazing, but having to launch warehouses by no means was easy, especially since, unlike building software where you could just like turn on another server and then your site can just expand overnight. We've had to, like, our first warehouse was probably the size of like a bedroom. And then we quickly outgrew that, and then had to grow into another one and another one. And then, I think we've been through a dozen warehouses, and still looking to add more. So it's one of those things that scaling warehousing is not easy. Scaling like the employee and talent at warehouses is quite different than the employees and talent at like a San Francisco-based SaaS startup company. So there's a big talent learning curve in how to hire and train and employ, warehouse associates. Sourcing became a really thing that I had no idea about. And again, before starting this company, I was an account executive in tech sales at a software startup in San Francisco. So I had no logistics background. I just had to learn all about it on the fly. Customs was like a curveball in the early years, learning that. So yeah, it was challenging, to say the least.
I can imagine it was very challenging. And as an operator too, as you're growing and scaling a business, balancing building software, fulfillment and infrastructure, shipping, kind of that whole side. It's like you said, it's very different parts of the brain, different talent. How did you manage that? Was it just the needs of the business at the time? Or did you have support saying kind of, put the money here on the software side or do fulfillment first? Like talk us through that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, in the very, very early days, it was just like me and my co-founder, and so we just had to figure out like what's the MVP, what's like the first version that we could build, and then it was just kind of how can we get to a point where I can hire somebody that is smarter than me in all the different areas of the business. But I don't know, for the first year or two, it was juggling, and context switching. 1 minute I'm thinking about warehouse and logistics, flying over to our warehouse. I was in Vegas at first, so luckily it was a short enough flight. Now that they're everywhere, but so that was flying over there, getting into warehouse mode, figuring out what do we need to do to scale, and then a minute later it's like, how do we build a software integration into Salesforce? But there's a lot of nuances into gifting, especially personalized gifting, than maybe what historically like common warehouses were used for e-commerce, or 3PLs using it for, you got 50,000 chapsticks and you're just constantly sending one after the next. With gifting and having, maybe one type of gift, and different stocks, and it's just there's a whole new world that we had to learn. So it wasn't easy to hire people that had, gifting warehouse experience either.
What has been that transformation as you've gone from the traditional buy bulk, stick in a warehouse? How is print on demand being woven into your offering and in the whole gifting space in general?
Yeah, I think the way that we look at it is there's could be a decade-long buyer and customer journey that you're trying to plan for if you're a company that is, first you've got to market to this prospective buyer and send them things. Then you're in the sales process and you're sending them things, and they're a customer and you're sending them things. Now, hopefully they're a customer for 10 years and you're sending them things. So I think there's dozens, if not hundreds, of different touch points where you can send different items. And so I think that's one thing to think about, is one day it might be a pre-kitted gift item. The next day it might be a hyper-personalized printed piece. Next day it might be a bottle of wine. The next day, maybe not day after day, but the next year it might be something else. So I think thinking about it in that term, there's you need to have lots of different things that you can send to a prospect turned customer. Is one way we look at it. And so having lots of those options available is critical for our customer base. Furthermore, on the print side, or print on demand side, we're seeing some interesting trends there where, one, there's a print on demand or even a handwritten note on demand component to a lot of the gifts that happen. So that's really personalized. We're seeing increasing asks around print on demand collateral that's included with the gift, so that there's more of a brochure or other printed collateral and materials, or even swag on demand, which is printed on demand with minimum order quantities of one, is trending and is a big topic. So I think there's a lot of different reasons why that's advantageous to our customers.
That makes total sense, especially when you think about it over the life of that account. You're just going to want to have all those different experiences. Suppose related to that, though, you've probably seen a lot of different gifts and use cases and journeys over the years. We talked through this kind of typical sales funnel, prospect through to close and customer life cycle, but are there any unconventional use cases for gifting that you've run into with Sendoso?
Well, I mean, a very early story, when we started selling 9 years ago, we're like, okay, sales is going to buy this. I was a salesperson. I was like, I need this. And I realized that I was kind of a unique seller at the time, going above and beyond. And when we tried to sell into sales leaders, they're like, I don't have a lot of budget. I don't really buy a lot of software. Thanks, but no thanks. And so we thought we were a little bit dead in the water for a bit. And then we instantly just was like, talk to marketing. And then marketing was like, OMG, I love this. And then they're like, also, I'm going to enable our entire sales team to use this. So that was it. The first thing we thought was, oh no, sales doesn't want this, but it was really marketing wants to buy this, put their hands on it, put their brand on it, and then sales was going to love it. And so that was a little bit unconventional from day zero, I think. But then we've actually had a lot of other, I guess, industries come on board, like hotels using us to send personalized gift to their members, trying to excite them to come back in for future stays. We have sports teams as customers sending stuff to season ticket holders, which I thought was a cool use case that I had never thought about day one. We have some online gaming and sports betting that's trying to thank and reward some of their bigger whales, which is an interesting use case for us. And then just non-sales and marketing use cases, like product research teams trying to thank somebody that's taken a product research survey or helping with feedback there. So I think what we originally thought was going to be more of a sales and marketing tool, and the infrastructure we built, which is really to send something from point A to B using software and data to make it more personalized, has turned into really anyone that wants to send a thank you or could be a reward or a loyalty based incentive, and so it's just opened up really unlimited use cases that I've never thought about when we first started the company.
I love that. Like when you were rattling off a couple of those different use cases, like, oh yeah, it makes total sense. But I would also think for your customer base, because it's integrated into their CRMs and it's trackable. They have triggers. It can be on a campaign or it can be one off, but they can track it. To me, that's the beautiful thing about the physical and the digital worlds colliding, is that you can track and manage these campaigns and these touches way easier than you could if back when you were just doing it one off, right? Because you can actually show an ROI, a marketing group or sales team, they can show that ROI.
Exactly. And they could scale it out. I think if they're doing it manually in-house, which is what a lot of companies will kind of try and then be like, I need to do way more of this. They can't really do more, or they're using their high cost employees, their marketing team packing boxes, or their high value sales reps packing boxes, which is just not the best use of time.
That makes total sense. I mean, on that ROI point too, I imagine companies learn a lot about just efficiency in gifting. Does
Mm-hmm.
Sendoso support your customers with like what types of gifts tend to have the highest ROI or get the most experience? I'm just curious about that point as you've learned for this business.
Yeah, we definitely will showcase ROI back on different campaigns and what they're sending. And so I think in some cases we can directionally point them, but our perspective is a bit more like there's a bit of personalization. And so what the right gift for Maddie might be the wrong gift for Kris. So I think that's one way to think about it. Is really it's the individual, it's the use case, it's the reason. There's also a lot of different reasons why you're sending gifts. It could be you're trying to build pipeline. It could be you're trying to thank a customer, or it could be a holiday gift versus you're trying to get someone to show up to a demo. And all those different reasons might have a different gift. So you really have to think about the reason you're sending it, the person you're sending it to, and those will drastically change maybe what you're going to send and then the ROI related to that.
Well, that makes total sense, Kris. I mean, and that's the power of the platform that you've built, is that ability to use that infrastructure to personalize both the gift and then the use case of what you're trying to accomplish with Sendoso. So pivoting a little bit, as you think about the next step for the business, you raised a few capital rounds. It's been a minute since you've raised. I'm curious as what you're looking toward for the future. We're talking a lot about on this podcast AI and the different applications there. I imagine you're having those conversations too. But anything you can share with us about where the business is going would be super interesting.
Yeah. So AI is definitely a big topic. We launched some really interesting AI features over the last year. One being a smart send feature that uses AI to suggest that, Kris likes golf and Maddie likes skiing. And so we're pulling that from first party data, third party data, a lot of different data sources. So that's really helpful in suggesting what we could personalize. We have an AI smart message feature that will write the handwritten note or or draft the printed note for you based on a lot of different data points. We even have a really cool AI smart delivery feature that will find your address and whether you're working from the office or your home, and then suggest either the home or office address, so you can surprise the recipient as well. So really putting a lot of effort into making it easier for our recipients to be surprised by something that they love, and then also making it more productive for the sender, so they don't have to spend as much time doing that research. So I think AI is something that's been really helpful for our business. Aside from that, we're just really investing in more of our global logistics, more always looking at more options that you can send through our platform. But I think we're also seeing a big tailwind, and I think there's just infinite use cases where people want to continue to use gifting.
Yeah, there's I think the wind in your sails right now with the way the momentum is going, especially for hyper personalized products. The B2B market is growing. I mean, that to me is where I look at the future of the POD industry, is where B2B is, and y'all fit really well into that ecosystem from a gifting standpoint and being able to. So it'd be interesting to see how continue to evolve, because I do believe there's a lot of opportunities from product standpoint, curation for the industry to be able to support platforms like yours. It does bring me to a question I had that you kind of touched on AI, but when it came to the curation of product, and that was something I've been thinking about is, what is that product selection process like for a customer? Can you walk us through that? Because there's so many different options.
Yeah. So there's a bunch of options actually. So one could be the customer actually has a ton of existing inventory and wants to basically send it over to us and have us manage all that and send through that. Another option could be the customer has an idea and they want to go to our what we call our campaign service team, and they want them to then go put together like the pricing, the different kits, the different availability, the different versions of that, and so we'll go out and do that for them. The third option is us going to them and being proactive and saying, hey, here's 5 ideas for different things that are working for other customers. Would you like to try one of these? Fourth is just going into our platform and looking at a kind of an on-demand catalog of tens of thousands of items. The fifth is going and using our smart send feature and suggesting something just to that recipient. So there's lots of different reasons to try those different ones depending on what the customer wants. And we try to have a flavor for everything that's needed.
Yeah, that's awesome that you have these different entry points of if you've got a really set idea, you're coming in, or you can just more browse, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Related to that, as you've expanded over the years and it sounds like incorporated more print and print on demand into the offering, what are some of the challenges that you've had incorporating like third-party production for POD? Because it sounds like it's a pretty hyper personalized experience. What was that process like for you?
Yeah, I think, whenever we add new things to the platform, there's a lot of retraining, there's a lot of reprocess management. So I think that's critical. A lot of re-education too for our customer success and client-facing teams on the value prop for that. And then just a lot of effort in terms of just making sure we get it right and perfect it, or what do we want to do differently to make it more unique to Sendoso and our product offering. So overall, I think we've done a good job of adding new capabilities, but it's always a learning curve across the board.
I can imagine. And our space in POD, I think there's, Rusty and I talk about, there's so many possibilities, but I imagine a lot of the people on this that are listening to this podcast, maybe not even thought of gifting as something that they could use their production technologies or kind of associated infrastructure to support. So I think it's a really great vertical for the space to be a lot more aware of.
100%.
Yeah. Again, I go back to especially as the B2B continues to grow in it, it's just one more quiver that you have to be able to leverage with it. And I think it'd be interesting to see the integration points and how these things all get built out, especially as centralized marketing hubs and everything else evolve. So as we start to wrap up, and I have a few questions just about leadership and what you've learned along the way. I mean, obviously, as a founder scaling a physical and software business, what leadership lessons have you learned that has surprised you most?
A leadership lesson I took early on from another mentor of mine was, it's a marathon, not a sprint. I'm in year 9 now, and so I think in the early years, you tend to think like, I need this done today, I need this done this minute, and I think that can cause a lot of whiplash or a lot of just a chaotic work environment too. And so I learned early on to kind of think about it like that, even though I'm very like now, but creating a leadership environment that is very much like thoughtful of the long journey that companies take, that it's not overnight success. That's probably one of the biggest. Another is my management style is a bit more collaborative, like I work for you versus you're working for me. And so that tends to help my employees lower their barriers to thinking that the CEO is too cool and he's up in his, personal office, blah, blah, blah. It's like, I'm sitting right next to you. I'm trying to help you. Let's collaborate. And that's created a really fun work environment where people feel like everyone's on the same playing field.
That's awesome.
Definitely. I from working at a startup myself, I know the first one you talked about of the everything is urgent, and it's a tough thing to manage. We really want to get something done tomorrow, but recognizing it's not a sprint. So I'll take that advice from you as well, Kris. All right, last couple things here before we let you go, and we're super grateful to have you. We're going to do a couple rapid fire topics. What gift or send idea are you most excited to try out next?
I think I'd say maybe a couple ones. One is I think we do offer some like ticketing gift cards, but I think there's more interesting opportunities for tickets and gifts like World Cup tickets, other sporting event tickets. I think that is a very personalized thing. If someone you knew liked something, then sending them tickets to something is a very great way to offer that. The other one is like a more instant now sending feature, partnering with the DoorDashes and Uber Eats of the world. So if I learned it was your birthday right now, maybe in 30 minutes I could get a bottle of champagne to your door. And so I think that's another really bigger category that we're investing into.
Love it. That'd be super cool.
I like experiences because I think even though it doesn't have the logo on it, you know where you got it. You remember who gave it to you and why.
Exactly.
That's that surprise and delight.
100%.
Exactly. Next one. What's your favorite behind the scenes fact about Sendoso?
I guess a lot of people don't know that actually Sendoso got started and our first name was coffeesender.com, and there was about a 6-month period where we were just sending Starbucks cards. And then we were like, everyone asked like, can we send way more stuff? We knew we wanted to send way more stuff. So then we wanted to switch to just send.com, but that was like a couple $1 million. And so we're like, what else could we do? Because we don't have a couple million, and we just drank beers and brainstormed and found sendoso.com available. So that name just was a random domain that was available on GoDaddy like 9 years ago.
I love the number of companies that's the reason that their name is the name is seemed like it fit for the business, and the domain was like $1,500.
Yeah.
Because it makes a ton of sense. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. All right, last one. Favorite book, podcast, or idea that has influenced your thinking recently on go to market or just scaling your business in general?
My two favorite podcasts. One is Lenny's podcast. I find there's a lot of really interesting product and scaling related stuff. And then I love My First Million podcast. I feel like that's just fun and inspirational, cool stuff that makes you want to work harder and make more money.
I love it. Those are two I haven't listened to, so now I've got two more to add to my list.
Me too.
I chew through podcasts, so I'm always like, I'm out. But especially by Thursday of the week, I'm like, all the podcasts have already refreshed out, and I'm like, I can't wait. So if somebody wants to connect with you, where can they find you?
Yeah, find me on LinkedIn. That's easiest. Or shoot me an email. It's Kris, Kris, @sendoso.com. Shoot me a note, and always happy to explore partnership synergies or, share war stories of starting companies. Just love networking. I think it's not what you know, but who you know is one of the things I think about.
It's all about relationships. It's not selling. It's about relationships.
Exactly.
So, yep. Well, thank you so much for coming on. This was a fascinating conversation.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thanks. Well, Rusty, that was an awesome episode. I am loving the business entrepreneurial stories. We've had a couple of those recently with our guests. Kris was another one. It's just so inspiring to hear how people start these companies and make them huge successes.
Yeah. And, the best they place on themselves, why it starts out. I mean, Kris is a perfect example where, we used Starbucks gift cards. They were like our go-to gift for clients.
I mean, and the application to POD makes so much sense. Like their business is broad, as he was talking about with warehouses. I'm sure they do everything from, really cool kitted packs all the way to a print on demand t-shirt. But I thought it was great to get that perspective, because I feel like a lot of times, and we talk about this, POD, at least in my world, a lot is e-commerce. And then we've talked a lot about the business and corporate and promo side. I thought this was a really great example of helping people see, it's not just like physical giveaways at an event. Like there's so many different applications for where print on demand and B2B can come into like all of these different companies' life cycles.
Absolutely. And what they thought the initial use case was going to be was not necessarily it. They said sales was not gravitating towards it. And that he was like, that's where it started. But marketing is like, I love this. Let's do this. And by the way, we're going to open it up. And as soon as that happened, it was like it cleared all the friction points that they were facing, and it just started to grow and scale. And I think that's really important. And when you look at products in the B2B side, where they can really, marketing gets personalization the delivery, the execution, the experience. That just fits really well in that world. And being able to integrate with their tools so they can prove out that ROI. I think one of the areas that marketing really struggles with is proving to the organization their strategies and plans and how they work and how they pay off. And I believe that's one reason why gifting has been so successful, because they can prove it. There's a metrics to it. They can see this is the amount we've spent. Here's who it's gone to, and how many of those people converted. Was that the reason they converted? No, but it's a metric that shows that it was part of that overall decision.
Yep, absolutely. And I think the Sendoso's approach to that, because it's been technology and the infrastructure on the fulfillment side, they can really give the customers the one-stop shop. So super smart approach of equipping the marketing teams. And then everything was talking about too, loyalty programs, sports teams, it all made a ton of sense. So hopefully people like I got inspiration from this. Hopefully a lot of the listeners did too, of just how this can fit into our space.
Yeah, great story, great guest. All the success to them. So thank you all for joining us today on another episode of the Print On Demand Playbook. Big shout out to Print Island for sponsoring the podcast. You can learn more about Print Island at Print Island Official and all the socials. You can also go to their website. You can see it on YouTube or wherever you get your favorite podcast. So Maddie, awesome job. And until the next time.
Until the next time. Thanks, everybody.